She's up
Yeah,
there.
Marissa's
Yeah.
on Zoom.
Oh,
Okay,
She
in
is.
the corner here, we have Brian and Joanne, in case you can't see them on your screen. Okay. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda and with the addition of a topic about the latest, how do we want to characterize that?
Launching into healthy learning
Okay, yeah,
initiative.
you're kinder than I would be. So that will be item C, and then everything else moves down a letter.
Yes. The press release from the state.
So, will someone move to make that
So moved.
change?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
We have approved the amended agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes, transmitted electronically and passed out.
So moved.
I hear.
Yeah.
Yes, you were.
Because you were saying
Second.
because you hadn't been at one before.
Okay.
Discussion, corrections, changes? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have approved the minutes. Ally, anyone from the public out there? Okay, so I just don't have to read the spiel. And discussion of next steps. And we have presentations tonight, the first of which is on the Washington DC trip. Jeff Sizer is here to tell us all about it.
Absolutely. So first, I have a little agenda notes here to help guide just this presentation, and however, give everyone one.
Thank you. If there's not enough. I'll do it.
No, we've made more than enough.
Good.
Just pass those down. Here. All right. And so first, I'd like to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to speak in this session. I know that everybody is very busy and has a lot going on. So my name is Jeff Sizer, and I took on the responsibility of coordinating the Washington DC trip for this year and hopefully other years as well. And so tonight I'm going to give a little summary about what happened this past year, as well as looking at options and kind of recommendations for how we can make it bigger and better in the near future. Oh, okay. Okay.
Just
All right.
relax.
Okay. So first off, this year we had 170 students attend with 22 chaperones. That was the largest trip that we know of in recent history. This trip and what I was, really the charge from that I was given from Mr. Scott was to make sure that this is a history trip. And we connected the curriculum that we learned throughout the year, which is beginnings to Reconstruction, really culminated with this trip. So we read about things throughout the year. We watched videos about it, and now we go and we actually do the history, which was really amazing. And so the places that we went to really connected to our class. This was an academic trip. It is not a vacation. We went to Mount Vernon, the National Archive, the Smithsonian African American History Museum, which is amazing if you haven't been to it. And we went to Ford's Theater. And then I really think the highlight of the trip was the meeting. The students met with our senators, Chris Murphy and Richard Blumenthal, and as well as their aides. And it was really like a Schoolhouse Rocks lesson come to life. And obviously the learning that brought the history to life, as well as the life skills and the friendships and the fellowships and the celebrations that we were able to have was really makes it something that I know in 20 years, I'm not necessarily I hope they remember my class and my day-to-day lessons, but I'll know that the students will remember the time they spent in Washington and this particular opportunity. So the students that did not attend the field trip, they were provided with programs, academic programs at the middle school. We partnered with the Torrington Historical Society to really bring those to life and make those meaningful. And then the company that we work with also provided us with a journal, a discovery journal that had basically an overview and information and lessons and things related to what the students were doing in DC, so that students that did not go on the trip still had a way to connect to what we were doing. So as we look ahead to 2023, we do want to stay with the 4-day, 3 nights trip to go to Washington. One wrinkle, and this again goes with making it a history trip and a trip that really connects to our whole beginnings through Reconstruction. We do want to incorporate an excursion to Gettysburg during our trip this year. And then you'll see the cost there, the $969.
But that would only be $30.
Yeah, it was $30 more to add it to Gettysburg. And I just, as I taught it at the end of this year, I was like, man, if we were there, they would have had a much better understanding of what we were talking about and a much stronger connection to the entire Civil War era. So the dates of the field trip, the dates that which would mirror what we've done in the past would be Tuesday, May 23rd to Friday, May 26th. In talking with Sue and Brian and some others, there has been, like, from what I understand, recommendations on the board of maybe trying to have it, extend into a weekend. So it didn't take up as many school days. So we're definitely willing to compromise on that. When you look at the dates of the trip, it's something, and this is something I've looked at quite a bit. It's one of those things where you don't want to potentially solve certain problems by just causing other problems. And just saying, oh, we're going to move the trip and do it on this date, it's not necessarily that easy. And to be able to incorporate the items that we really would like to, and that make the trip as it is, as special as it is. And we could definitely talk about that more if you'd like, but.
I'd like to.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
if you
okay.
don't mind.
So like for
You wanna wait? Okay.
okay,
Okay.
all right. We did release a survey. We revealed one of the big things that the survey had is scheduling a field trip outside of the academic time was something that was not appealing to families or the faculty. In particular, doing something over April vacation, doing something after the school year ended, did not gain any traction. The feedback was really, honestly, was to keep it the way it's been. But extending it into a weekend was something people would do as well. People would probably grumble about it and do it anyway. So that was it. Okay. So, so at this point, and I think this, in talking about just the dates of the trip, maybe we talk about that and then we get into the next, or do you think we should just keep going?
Fun,
Okay.
give them the whole picture
Okay.
and then.
All right.
keep
So
it
one
nice.
of the things that I just wanted to I wanted to bring up, and I think it was a good discussion point to talk about the success and the ongoing success of this trip, is that for the last couple of years, there was fundraising dollars that was raised for field trips that didn't happen. And so they were basically put in a Washington, D.C. fund. And there were some significant funds that were in there when I took on this role of $12,000. And I was able to use that money to basically help students that wouldn't have been able to go on the trip otherwise be able to attend. There was an application process. They had to have a teacher recommendation and things like that, where students were able to get scholarship money. And for the 20 students, we did $400 a piece to make it possible for them to go on this trip. If it wasn't for those funds, these students would not have been able to participate. And if we're looking to continue to try to have this trip be something that grows in its appeal and its popularity and its participation, and include as many students as possible, creating a scholarship fund would be very helpful in achieving that goal. How to do that, that's definitely something I'd love to work together on. Obviously the easiest way would be if there were funds from the board. But obviously fundraising initiatives, donations by alumni, families, community partners, teachers, and then looking at grant funding. Again, like having those funds being accessible made a huge difference. And us going from a trip that would have been probably about around 130 students to 170, or 100, maybe between 130 and 150 to the 170 student number that we hit. And if we want to have that continue to go up, having the funding to help helping students that wouldn't be able to afford it go is really important. Yes, fundraising is important. And the types of fundraisers that have been done in the past are your cookie dough, your light bulbs, you bring the fundraisers home and you sell them to your families and grandma and things like that. But I to be honest, the students we were able to help go may not have the family support to be able to make fundraisers like that successful for them. So overall, I think this is a trip that we in Torrington, as a product of Torrington, is really proud of to be able to be part of. I was really happy when Brian gave me the opportunity to do this. I'm dedicated to making it better and trying to spread it to more students. And I'm really looking forward to working with you to make that a reality. So
Questions and discussions. Sue first, you have a question.
I did, just a couple of comments and observations, but first, thank you for the overview. We did get emails throughout your trip from Mrs. Ferguson, which were great to follow.
excellent,
So
thank
that
you.
was a lot of fun. I love the DC trip and always have, so I like to follow it while you guys are there. I don't, you may or may have not heard, we did talk about this a lot last year.
Okay.
On the timing of the trip and when it was going to happen. If I recall, as a board, we landed on if it doesn't happen during vacation or during the summer, it's not going to happen. Because that was a big debate last year, changing it from during the school period to April vacation or summertime or no trip. So I don't know if that's something, I was actually a proponent of having it during the school days, the academic days. I don't know if other board members would be open to that going forward. So
a couple of things that I know you had mentioned about, like when I mentioned about how it's very difficult about trying to look at other times to do the trip. So for example, and a couple of things to just be aware of. First off, one of the things I thought of, we would just do it. Maybe we do it the next weekend. It's off of Memorial Day. Well, the thing is, the week after Memorial Day, Congress isn't in session, and the opportunity to meet the congressman is really.
you don't have to sell it to me. I'm all for it
Okay.
being during the week.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it should be. It's convenient, especially given the age group. I know the older kids, the high school kids go during vacations in summertime, but it was a big deal last year to even have it when you went. So I don't think at this point, I think we would be hypocrites if we went back and said, okay, you can go again now during school. Because it was decided that no, we're not doing any more trips like that during the school year. I don't know if I'm the only one that recalls that, but we can go back and look at the minutes if we'd like. And then the other thing, as far as fundraising goes, you had mentioned support from the board. Not that we don't support these. This is just my own opinion here and my own observations. But we don't. We support you in that we think it's great that the field trips are being put together and things like that. But as far as actual money from our budget to support that trip, we talked about that as well, and we're not in a position financially to be able to do that. But as far as like helping with fundraising and things like that, I'm the PTA or PTO liaison. I would be more than happy to help facilitate fundraising, different ideas and whatever can be done. And I think, frankly, we should do that for all of our big trips that the kids are going out of the country and everything, because there are, we have a lot of families in town being in Alliance District where they can't afford to do this trip, and it's a trip of a lifetime for some of these kids. So to be able to get the funding for them to do it, I'm all for that. But I think there's going to probably be, unfortunately, more discussion ad nauseum about when the trip is going to happen next year. So just, heads up that it's been discussed, it's been voted on, both topics. So I don't know that there's much room for negotiation there at this point.
Well, I think that the trip gets approved every year, and what we said last year might not be what we say this year.
Which I think we'd be hypocrites if we did that,
And a
because
compelling argument might be made for having it on the same schedule it's been had on previously. And
the same
if that's
argument,
done, we will.
that was the same argument that was made last year. I just don't, I don't think it's, I'm not comfortable after all the discussions we had about it last year, and arguments that we had about it, to now turn around and say, okay, never mind, you can go whenever you want.
Well,
You can do it during academic.
It
Right.
still has to
Doesn't
go back to
matter
the
for the
full
full
board.
board.
Right, which I
Right.
understand, but I'm just saying, and you know, if our other members end up watching this meeting, I just want to make it clear that we've had this discussion. It was voted on, I voted against it, so I'm not saying this because I'm in a disagreement too. I agree with your position in having it during that time period. But there were also many others that were opposed to it. And I hope it wasn't for personal reasons.
And the discussion was within the context of the problems we had last year, just getting this trip back underway. And remember, we
We had a
consulted
break.
with and with Brian, and we assured ourselves that this was going to be a worthwhile trip.
Always will
Despite all
be.
the noise that was going on.
Right,
around.
always will be. I agree with that.
So now that we've seen that it worked this year. Fiona,
I also just think a big part of it is the number of kids that are left behind and what we're doing for them while the other kids were there.
And what was promised to them didn't happen either. There was supposed to be a New York City trip. None of that happened for the kids that were left behind.
Yeah, I don't, was it supposed to happen last year?
This past year, yeah. There were other things that were supposed to happen that didn't, to the kids. And it looks like still they had a great opportunity, not as great, but they had other things that were on here.
Recognizing that there was a need to people staying behind and a need to give them an academic experience, we did connect with a lot of other, we connected with the Historical Society. We also had the American Indian Institute from Washington. They came in and they did a program for us as well.
Mhm.
So it wasn't as if there wasn't a special time of the year for them.
Right, and I just want to jump in on the whole New York thing. This was huge for Jeff to take this on in his first year.
Right,
So I think his focus needed to be on Washington DC.
Yep.
And then if we are interested in exploring New York, then we've got to have another person designated.
well, I
for
assumed there
that
was
trip.
another person that was facilitating. I didn't realize that it was gonna be up to him to facilitate 2 trips for 500 kids.
Right, so I think especially
That's not-
coming out of COVID and doing that transition, the crazy year that we had last year, I think it's phenomenal that we had the Washington DC.
I
trip.
absolutely agree. I
And
do,
as
but.
we move forward, then we can think about New York or wherever else,
Mhm.
whatever else we do.
So
You know.
it's about 50% of the class that went.
Yes.
That was-
Do you guys think that the other half doesn't go specifically for financial reasons? I'm not holding you to it. just
Well,
like
I,
it's-
as finances a thing, yes, that's a big part of it. But I also think, and this is something that surprised me, is that there is a lot of fear out there, honestly, and was a surprise of kids being away from their parents. And that was something that I found to be kind of surprising. I was
I
like,
think that's always been the issue though, with that
It-
trip. That's
is
a
that-
long time.
is that there are kids out there that that are like, in their minds don't want to be away from a scouting background. That was kind of a surprise for me, but that was something that is just there were kids that were just petrified to be on
away that
to
long.
be on their
Yep,
own.
that's understandable. Yeah,
And I bet there were parents as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
especially just after this whole COVID experience.
Yeah.
But I don't think COVID had anything to do with the date discussions that we were having.
No,
Right.
in respect with what Jeff was
Yeah.
just
Oh, no,
saying,
and I don't
in
know,
terms of going
I
away.
thought somebody else did the New York planning when the Washington trip was going on. Did Jason Lafreniere do planning of both? No, Ronnie's saying, no, I didn't think he did either. So it shouldn't have been left up to you, Jeff, to do that.
So Brian has a comment on that.
I can comment on that. The New York City trip wasn't planned because the parents who were holding their kids back specifically said they did not want their children traveling.
Okay, that's great to know, Brian. Thank you.
We said, okay, if most of them don't want their kids going out of state, we're
Then
not
why
going to take
plan a
kids
trip?
out of state.
Yes.
So,
Very
and in
helpful.
terms
Thank
of who planned it in years past, I'm not 100% sure. Ronnie,
You know,
do you
Ronnie?
remember?
It was another teacher
Yeah,
Oh,
Um,
that's right.
who's
Okay.
not there anymore.
okay.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
really planned the
Right.
New York City and the 9/11 and seeing me in trouble.
Okay.
Someone else did that. it was.
Because that is a lot for one person to do both. You
Yeah.
can't do
One
both
person cannot
trips.
do both.
Right,
Well, I don't think so.
right.
I don't know, are you Superman, Jeff?
No, I think
Even if you were.
Yeah, no,
That's a
Yeah,
lot.
there's a-
Making it contingent on the timorous parents, I would not want to give them a veto over the Washington trip.
Right.
That's
For
saying,
everybody
well,
else.
because you don't want your kids to go to New York, we can't let other kids go to Washington. That doesn't make sense. Why turn the power over to people who are afraid? We do enough of that already in our society.
Yeah.
But, anyway, other
But thank you
questions or
again.
comments?
And thank you for taking it on.
Okay, Fiona has more questions.
Just 2 quick ones. Is there any way, I know you can't do it after, but could we move it like the week before to avoid that Memorial Day weekend?
Now, just a couple of things to just be in mind. I mean, in the end, could it be done at another time? Obviously, it can't be. But there are just, like, one of the things they do the week leading up to Memorial Day weekend, the week after, is there's this very special ceremony where they put where the soldiers go to Arlington National Cemetery and they place the flags throughout the cemetery. And the flags stay there the week leading up to Memorial Day and the week after Memorial Day. And so it is a special time to be doing it.
Yeah.
And that definitely adds to the experience.
Yeah.
So like what I'm just saying, it's like, so like, you know, and the whole thing of moving it, it was like, okay, well, we're going to do it this day, but oh, well, no, we can't do it that day because then you lose this. Or if you move it this day, oh, well, you can't really do. And being the first time doing it, you come to realize that maybe the people that had been doing it for the last decade, maybe they were on maybe they knew what they were doing, and there was a reason it was offered
Yeah.
at
It was a lot of work.
at this time of year. And obviously my thought was, oh, we'll do it the following weekend, the following week, and we can spread it into the weekend. Then I was like, well, then the senators aren't there, and that's really the highlight, and that really connects most of the curriculum, we the people, everything like that.
That was one question. You said you had 2.
And then just the other one, and the Holocaust Museum is something that they used to always attend. I'm not saying
Yes,
yes,
so
that's
the
what-
Holocaust Museum, a couple of things. So first off, one of the charges I was given per se was to make sure everything that we, as much as we did, was connected with our beginnings to Reconstruction curriculum. So that was what I was focused on most. The other thing is that coming out of COVID, the Holocaust Museum really wasn't giving group. And then even when they did, it was something where you had to have one adult for every 5 kids that were there, and we didn't have that many
The ratio,
chaperones to
yeah.
go.
Just, I think, when I went as a parent chaperone, I think that was a very powerful.
Oh, and I'm not saying everything has to be, you always want to add in some different things, and that couldn't be something that we incorporated in. But that was why, it was something that was brought up, but it was, first off, it wasn't really allowed. And then I was also focused most on what connects best to basically the beginnings to Reconstruction.
Well, thank you for taking this on. It's a
Yeah.
lot.
Oh, yeah, no, it would, and you know, you see studies, studies come out all the time, and we see it in the classroom where more and more kids say they're depressed, they don't have things to look forward to, they don't have any friends. And this is something where, what is the answer to that? This is this trip, because the friendships people made, the excitement that you had in the building was really amazing. And I know there was a fellow history teacher that was on it. He was new, and he was like, "Oh, this is awesome." I said, "This is the best," and this is really what it's about. And I think it's something, having taught in other districts, this is something we as Torrington can put our hat on. We do this trip. This is part of our curriculum. And this is something we should be proud of. And this is something I think should be on the website. There should be an article in the newspaper about, there's obviously plenty of articles about not so great things. And as somebody that went to Torrington Middle School and, then when I graduated from Fairfield University and then came back, after going to teaching West Hartford for a while, being part of this is really exciting. And I'm glad Brian thought of me when he had to find a new horse to pull the wagon.
Just because I've voluntold you.
I was going to use that because Sue said, "Oh, thank you for volunteering." It was not really. It was like when the principal comes to you and says, "Oh, we have an opportunity for you. We have an opportunity." You're like,
That's great.
"An opportunity." You're like,
That's
"Uh-oh."
what a good administrator.
And I remember I
does.
called my father and I was like, "Well, Mr. Scott called me in and he wanted me." He said, was he asking you or telling you?" And I said, "Probably
Yes.
somewhere in the middle." I think when the principal asks you to do something, you say yes.
Good answer.
So,
Remember that.
I like
yeah,
this.
absolutely.
Other
So,
questions, other topics?
you know,
Just wanted to share one quick thing. So Jeff had mentioned about his survey. I don't know if you're interested in the results from the survey. I do have them right in front of me, so I can certainly share them if you guys would like to hear them.
Important now, or will they be important when we talk about the timing for next year?
This would be about the timing.
Yeah, so let's hear that then.
so, yeah, okay. So what would the timeline be in?
Why don't you come up with your timeline, then we'll negotiate.
Well, they have to start
If we have to,
planning.
we might not have to.
Okay, because ideally, I'm just saying, so what we should be doing right now in preparation for the trip is like bus contracts are big and they're hard to get.
Yeah.
And so that's, the more you delay, that's kind of a concern.
School board meets the end of this month.
Okay. And then obviously giving families, because whether people can afford it or not, or, the $900 is a lot of money. And giving people the more time.
To your point earlier, I think the fundraising they have is great, but you can only sell so many light bulbs and so many grinders. And for when you're trying to raise $1,000 per student, you need something bigger. We need something.
No,
that
and
is
again, and a lot of these are
community-wide.
frankly, a lot of the students that go home and sell those things to grandma, are
Yeah,
they really the
the ones that
students?
need it.
The student, they are probably the students that could pay the money anyway.
I know.
I mean, in
So,
reality, that's the case.
There needs to be like a big, for, I don't know, craft fair, let's say, for example. And then all the proceeds go right into an account to be split,
Oh,
something.
yeah, no,
bigger.
and that's something, obviously, you're overall very talented, what is that?
Mhm.
And trying to put together basically like a guide to running this trip,
Mhm.
where this is when it's offered, these are the fundraisers we do, and it becomes part of the school culture,
Mhm.
rather than, this one's running it, and then you have to reinvent the wheel and try to figure out how it goes, and when are we doing it, and we have to go have a discussion again, and
Right.
try to establish a tradition with it. So, yeah, I don't know. So, Mr. Kisko, what would you like next from me, or et cetera?
Well, I think if you
I
get a
think really
proposal,
just the dates.
say what?
It's the dates.
Get a
Yeah,
proposal
so
for the board for the August meeting that explains why
I think
the
he gave us-
midweek timing is important,
Okay.
why we can't do it. And then because, yes, no, sound good?
Yeah.
And then once we get dates nailed down, then we can go on with the rest, but
And could you do Gettysburg on the Saturday? Because when we went, I think that's what we did, Gettysburg on the way home.
Is that something that you could do? Yeah, the way I actually have it designed with our folks right now is it's not on the Saturday, just because at the end of the trip, a lot of the kids are just exhausted and want to go home. We have kind of an early wake up for like the third day,
Yeah.
where they would wake up, you have a 6 o'clock breakfast. They would leave Washington at 7. It's about an hour and a half to Gettysburg, get there for 8:30. And then they would do, they would go to the visitor center, see the cyclorama. They would then go on a bus tour where they have battlefield guides, each get on the bus. And these guys are amazing. They just like close their eyes and they're like, and then there was somebody from Louisiana over there. It's like, man. And then we would do the battle tour guide. Then they would have lunch. We would go to a place called the Shriver House, which is kind of like Sturbridge Village, but in Gettysburg, where like you have like reenactors that were like citizens on that day. And we're like, oh, this person came barreling through my backyard and everything like that. And so the students get an idea of what it was like to actually live be a citizen during the time of the Civil War. And then we would leave and we would come back to Washington.
So I think it would just be important for the board to know, based on these two options, what would be lost if they went Wednesday to Saturday.
There really wouldn't be anything lost going Wednesday to Saturday. You would just probably have some grumbly parents and teachers that say that cut into their weekends, but then they would do it anyway. So there would just be a few more angry emails, but they would get over it.
So discuss dates of the board meeting.
Okay, and what is the date of the meeting? Is it the day
So,
before? Is it the day before?
Fourth,
Is it the day before the first day?
fourth.
It may be subject to change though, because there's quite a few conflicts that
But
week,
it's-
so we can let you know.
I don't want it to be that. I'm in Florida that day.
You're in
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah, a lot of
Yes.
people have conflicts on
Yeah.
that day, so we're trying
Yeah.
to figure out.
I was trying to get my
how
last
do
reprieve in before vacation,
We'll see.
but I mean, we could zoom in.
It's just
and really
Thursday,
really
31st. So you're going the 24th, I think, and the 17th. I think a lot of people are, so I don't know, we may end up doing it the
Yes,
31st.
we will revisit
Just the
the
night
dates
before
for
school
this
starts.
trip. And once the dates are nailed down, the rest can go.
Or the first week in
In
September,
September,
which would be the 7th, so that we would
Right.
just
yeah.
bump second policy or just, yeah, reschedule.
Then we
We
would
couldn't do
meet.
the Wednesday after Labor Day, or is that when the conflict is?
No, we would have to, we could, but we would just have to bump all the second policies out.
Oh, those, okay.
So then you'd have a meeting every Wednesday in September.
It's okay. but we wouldn't-
Well, that would not be a first.
I was just gonna say.
And that's different.
Most months.
Okay, so I think we are all set. Thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, no
Great
problem.
job.
Oh, I do have one more
It's
thing.
hard at this end.
I have one more thing, and I'd like to, so
Professional.
we take a big picture in front of the Capitol.
One more thing.
Professional.
And,
Oh, look at that.
you know, I wanted to give
Oh,
this to
very
you,
good.
so you could put it,
That's gorgeous.
whether you want to put it somewhere in here or put it at the middle, wherever you
Yeah,
think
be
would be
nice if
best to
I
put.
were That's
Well, yeah.
gorgeous.
You know, I know you have a lot of like stuff from like the 1800s in here.
Yeah.
You know, I was like,
Yes,
we need to
we
get something
do.
that's more like,
Current.
more current. you know?
Yeah, that's
Like, I saw like the first
Oh,
principal's
that's
desk and everything like
That's
that.
That's so sweet. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, we
Yes.
definitely
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks.
should do
We
that.
will put it in
All
here.
right.
Okay,
Yes,
I was
great
remiss
job.
at the beginning of the meeting in not mentioning that Mrs. Ferguson can't be here because
She has COVID.
she has.
But I'm glad you stopped for just a second because I also
that's the
want to.
other-
Yes.
Remiss.
Do you mind if I?
Please do.
Okay, Shelley Rinaldi is with us tonight. She is our new middle school principal. I have to say, when I met Shelley, I was just so impressed with her background in terms of instructional knowledge and supportive teachers and team building and community building and her enthusiasm for middle school. Yay! So I'm so excited to welcome Shelley Rinaldi.
Transition in. The onboarding process has been amazing, and every single person that I've met so far, you can feel like that gentleman there, you could feel the passion for kids, and that's what made me want to be here.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good.
great.
It'll
Yes.
get worse in the next presentation.
That's right. More passion.
Okay, we're all set. We're ready to move on to, now remember teacher voice, because that thing just buzzes this end of the room terribly.
Yeah, that's why I sat down.
Elderly type who have trouble to begin with.
Do you want to move down a little bit, Ronnie? Just so that, yeah, so the board can hear you. I know it's hard with that air conditioner.
I actually have never done something like this in all the years directing shows at the middle school and the high school.
Wow.
And I am going into my 18th year.
Oh, my God.
So this
Wow.
would be my 18th middle school show, and the high school, I think this would be my 9th or 10th year doing the high school drama. And I feel like since I did that Fun for Teachers professional development, and I had that opportunity, I have been sort of expanding my wings and getting more involved and learning more about theater. And we do need some help to continue what we are and to get better. You all know how good our kids are. Our kids are great. Our kids are so talented. They sing, they dance, they act, they build sets, they design programs, they've done makeup that's unbelievable. I've had kids build costumes. I want to keep that up, and I actually would like to do more, but I thought I would let you know where we are this past year. and maybe some things we need to move forward. So look at that, isn't that cute?
Yeah.
And I cut this short, John. It was
Thank you.
originally
That's
really,
great.
really long. And I did cut it short for you. So just so you know, 2021, 2022, we did present 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shows. We had the good fortune to be able to take a ride on the summer school bus, so to speak, to do a summer program this year. Before COVID, we were also looking at doing 5 shows because at the middle school, we had so many kids involved. We had to do a 7th and 8th grade show and a 6th grade show. Now we're rebuilding numbers at the middle school and actually at the high school, so I probably don't need to do that just yet. They don't all fit on the stage. All of those were, the one in the middle, the Every US Election Ever, that is a student-directed show. The kids sort of, there was a few years when it didn't happen. We have students that want to take charge, that want to direct. They own that show. I will say at the high school, they actually owned all the shows. I know I direct them and get them started, but Tech Week, they start taking over an opening night. A few of the kids will come to me with a question. I say, you got it. You have a stage manager, you have an assistant director, go. And I just sit and watch. They run the whole thing. This year, the 2 eligible THS productions received a total of 17 Halo Award nominations. We did get awarded 2 of them. This was the most nominations we have ever had.
Fantastic.
In the past, there have been, but they used to allow more shows. So you had 3 shows, they would let all of them. They only allow 2 shows now. So those 2, and as you can tell, it was 2 actors, 2 amazing.
Awesome.
I just wanted to connect, and I know the THS is working and changing their core values and beliefs to work more with the new building coming. But we have programs at the middle school and the high school that they really provide the opportunity for kids to collaborate, to produce something, to problem solve. It is even at the middle school during Moana, a few kids came to me running with problems. And I said, well, what would you do? How do you think you should handle that? Who can you ask? And they had to do it. I did not ask for them. I didn't go and it's hard. I didn't go and solve it for them. They figured it out. A few little prop and costume problems, but that was their job. And we have a few students who are in different programs at the school and special education programs. And I actually put one of them in charge of props. And she took great ownership of those props. And I said, gosh, Maui has to turn into a bug. What am I going to do? And I did have an idea of how to do it, but it can't always be me. It has to be them too. And she came up with her own solution. And it worked. It was great. It's better than mine. So currently what we have is it's an after-school program. So it is a club. There is the Thespian Honor Society and the THS Student Theater. At TMS, we have Drama Club. There's over 120 students in both of those clubs. The Thespian Honor Society, Troop 611, has 23 students that have been inducted into it now. There is one drama course offered at THS, and I believe there's 18 students registered for that course next year. And I am doing a drama elective course at the middle school next year, and there are over 100 students that registered for that. So I actually will have 2 sections of drama because it's a trimester course.
Yes.
So actually, I'm going to have 6 classes. Isn't that great?
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll start writing curriculum next week. Some of you know. I have it ready. It's in my. So this was a video made by Sophia Lestrade, who's a graduate, who was one of our interns with Moana. And she made this video to show you. She made it for you guys.
Okay, the most valuable thing was learning
can.
The most valuable thing that I have in this summer camp is all the friends that I made and all the memories that I'll share. I'll cherish these memories forever.
My most valuable thing is that I met a lot of new people and I met a lot of new friends, and I had a really fun time doing this play because I learned a lot of choreography, I learned music, and it was just really fun.
The greatest thing that happened to me for like this summer is being able to share my time with people and to be able to see people for the last time because they're going somewhere else that I don't want to go. And I'm really gonna miss them and miss the relationships I have with them.
Valuable experience is actually letting this be my first play. The most valuable thing was learning the songs and like making friends, and they all felt like family. So the most valuable thing that happened this summer was the fact that I haven't singed in front of many people ever since Godspell, and it was good to learn how to sing in front of people again.
The most valuable thing about this place is that I learned how to be comfortable around other people.
I'm Reed, and the most valuable part of theater to me is having a place where I can be who I am and express myself creatively.
My favorite thing about theater is all the memories you make along the way, the people you meet, the experiences you get to have.
Theater is important because it operates similarly to being on a sports team, so students who aren't interested in athletics still get the benefits of working as a team and being a part of something bigger than themselves while doing something that they're interested in that they find fun.
Theater is important to me because it's what I'm majoring in college as a career, and it helped me decide what I wanted to do with my life, and it can benefit many more careers than just acting. So it's like the starting point to other pathways and other careers.
So, you did a good job. They were going to come, and then I said that would take too long. So we cut it short. There you go. That sort of does tie in what Jeff was talking about with the excitement and the friendships and having kids want to go to school. These kids came every day during the summer, and they weren't in summer school. And they were so I was excited to be there every day too. I'll be honest, it was great. So right now we don't have a theater department. We're a student activity or a club. So our funding comes from ticket sales. We have not raised ticket prices. We did it once at the middle school because when I started, I think it was $3 and $8. Then we went $5 and $10 because I'm not good at math, and 5 and 10 was so much easier to keep track of. It is the same at the high school, except the musical is 10 and 15. So we fund our shows on ticket sales. It costs between $5,000 and $20,000 to put on a show. And we have dug into our reserves to, we have dug into them. I'll just say that. The theater department has bought equipment that the school uses. At the middle school, I know that we purchased wireless mics, which we have 10 of them that we bought. We've also bought monitors and speaker monitors. The speakers in the high school, that big one over the stage, it's terrible, use the speakers. So we have speaker monitors so the sound is more clear. But all that is done through ticket sales, and student theater does do some fundraising. So if we were not, I don't want to say just a club, but sometimes I do get that from people, you know, you're not a class, it's just a club, the kids should be doing this. Why? The kids are learning nonstop in theater. It is not just having fun. So I was just bringing it towards attention that maybe we need a theater department, or theater could be part of the unified arts rotation and aligned with the applied performing arts pathways. So we could actually have a drama 2 class or an advanced acting class at the high school. Right now, the 18 kids taking drama of them, I know there's quite a few who would be ready for an advanced acting class that Sybil could teach, more than capable of that. And there's some great curriculums out there. TMS drama course right now is 7th and 8th grade students. Wouldn't it be great if I had a 7th grade class and then an 8th grade class the next year and have 2 different courses? And see, we could do them, so wouldn't be hiring more teachers. We could have technical theater class, a history of theater class, vocal performance class, the focus on musical theater or opera with the music department, using current staff that's in the school. And then could you even imagine having an introduction to theater class with the 5th graders, so when they come to the middle school, they're ready to go. This could all happen. And one school that I was talking to that used to have a class there that was a theater course, but it was called the physics of theater, and it was tied into their STEM teacher. It was tied in with the STEM curriculum. And the theater and drama courses will adhere to the national and state theater curriculum standards and guidelines. Additional benefits of having an enhanced theater curriculum and theater department. Budget for supplies, books, equipment, and PD for theater teachers for us to teach them. Time dedicated to plan, revise, adjust curriculum, 5 to 12. Department time, grant writing, fundraising, publicity, community involvement, and funding from school budget to maybe offset production costs that aren't covered with the ticket sales or fundraisers. And this year I really looked because I got a little worried because I fund our shows. And the first one that I funded out to, when I started, when I first got to middle school, I was all excited. I said, oh, look, a stage, let's go. And the principal at the time gave me $200 to buy scripts and do a show. But our shows have gotten better and our shows have gotten bigger. When we did Guys and Dolls Jr., which I can't remember quite the year we did that, that was the first big musical at the middle school. And I backed it. I just didn't tell my husband. So I know this is being recorded and this is public, but he won't watch it. We sold enough tickets, we made it. But every show, I take that risk. It's getting a little riskier and I am getting a little anxious. So I'm just sharing that with you. We have a reputation, you know, we have a high standard. I want to keep those standards. I don't want to go backwards. We have been saving. It's great between the middle school and the high school. We share costumes, we share props, we share set pieces, we share kids. It's working wonderfully. But it's just something to think about, and I'm keeping it in the back of my mind, and it's kind of layering back there. The musical cost approximately $5,200 to produce, and earned revenues from ticket sales and program ads of $5,300. We had an audience of over 400. So we earned 100 on Little Shop. And then I realized I didn't take out the cost of the musicians in that. So we actually lost money on one of the best musicals we've produced. The TMS musical cost approximately $4,800 to produce, and it earned more. And we do program ad sales. So we earned about $1,000 on Aladdin Jr. It's just going to be very difficult to fund productions at the quality expectations students, parents, and the community have come to expect. And we will need to expand our funding revenue, and time is needed to do that. So the rights to perform a musical are generally over $2,300 just for the rights to rent scripts. Then you realize they only give them to you for 8 weeks. So if you want, you know, if you're going to take longer to put your show together, you need to pay another like $300 for every week extra. It's nice to have 10 to 12 weeks to put on the show. The junior versions are a little more expensive depending on which company you get it from. So I was contacted by a student theater graduate, a thespian who graduated class of 72. She saw Little Shop of Horrors. She was very impressed and said that she and her husband We're in the first production on the THS Little Theater stage, Brigadoon in 1970. And she proposed that the THS Student Theater present it as the final musical on the Little Theater stage, inviting alumni in the community.
That's a cool idea.
I think, and I don't know, and I have emailed, but I haven't gotten a response yet. I was wondering of a timeline. And I think I will still be able to use the stage in May of 2025. I'm hoping to do Brigadoon. But
We'll let you know.
Okay.
Got a little clearer.
I'm hoping.
Okay.
And this is what she said. She said she wanted to propose the idea as a meaningful, creative end to the THS theater program that has a positive impact on so many students for over 50 years. It would be an end. It would just be changing the theater. But that's what she wrote to me. So we do have fundraising ideas. We have opportunities. We're trying to promote our shows more, get the news out to the community. And our shows are such a bargain. You can't go to a musical for $15 a ticket. I mean, the border, what is 30 or 35 now to see anything?
Start selling pieces of the old stage before it gets demolished.
Yeah, I know. So I would like to move our program forward. I think we already are because we have courses next year. We have time to work on the curriculum, so I'm going to make sure I work with Sybil so our programs don't overlap, so kids are advancing their skills and learning more, not repeating things. Let's see, we have the talent, the passion, and the drive. Could we open the curtain? And a theater, wow, isn't that good? To open the facility, I know I'm way too dramatic, but I have to go fast. So then I just have slides on benefits to theater education and the skills kids have and will get. Key communication skills. I don't want to say they speak poorly. I know I teach 7th grade, they speak poorly. Having them present in front of the class, it's like pulling teeth, and then you feel so bad for them because it's torture. Wouldn't it be great if they actually could come, present, speak, show their project, tell you what they're learning? So there's many benefits. Keep going. I think I have tons of these. And we don't need to do that, but it's there. Just in case you needed more reasons.
You can share it with
And
the board.
I can share this with you. Those are videos of the shows. I can share this PowerPoint with you guys if you would like. Next season, we are doing the Crucible in the fall. I had the students meet to discuss the season, and I do allow for student input. This year, I actually gave them a rubric to evaluate every show they proposed. So they can't just go listing 20, 30 shows. I want to do this one. I want to do that one. They actually, and they did. They completed that rubric, and it had to have the show. And then I had them score it according to besides audience appeal. What was the academic connection? What did they think would it work with what we have now, or would we have to buy costuming and props? Does it allow for inclusion of the entire, student body of Torrington? Is it welcoming to new students? I'm trying to remember, I had this whole criteria the kids completed. So we're doing the Crucible. That was not my first choice. The kids pushed to get this. They wanted to do the Crucible. And then the spring musical is going to be SpongeBob the Musical. And yes, we are doing it before the Warner. So I am very excited about their shows. They are next year, the middle school show. We're still discussing. We definitely want to do a classical one. But we just don't want to do a junior version where it's so chopped, it's awkward. So we're looking at Music Man Junior and Fiddler Junior and some of those shows, but we want to do a traditional one at the middle school because we've done too Disney, I can't. And one other thing I need to bring up, because Scott Minnerly helped us a lot with our tech for Moana, and he helped us also with Little Shop. And there is, and I know I will explain this wrong because I'm not a technician, but all your wireless mics in the theater.
I can explain
Oh,
this.
you can explain it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
there was a law passed actually over 10 years ago that gave a 10-year grace period to certain frequencies. It's the 700 megahertz band of wireless microphones in public theaters. Problem is that the government needed more money, so they took the frequency band and sold it to the cell phone carriers and public broadcast, giving 10 years to get rid of microphones that utilize this frequency. Deadline was, I believe, the beginning of this year. We're out of compliance. We could be potentially fined a large sum of money if we do not replace all the microphones in the district, and it's a lot.
Well, I've got, because Scott checked, we checked the frequencies.
Yeah.
So I would need, there's 5 at the middle school and 5 at the high school that are out of compliance, but that is 10 wireless mics, as much as $500 per microphone.
Yeah.
So that would wipe out my budget. But we do need to, that's going to be something really important to look at. So I think that might be my last slide. I should have done something with the curtain closed and or hands clapping.
There you go.
Thank you.
I did that. Every hand's clapping. How's
So
that?
thank you for allowing me the time. You know, I always sit at these meetings and I know time is important, but I wanted you to have some idea of what I do when I'm not in the classroom or at one of these meetings. And that's what I'm doing all the time. Love it.
Questions, discussion, questions.
But-
I have a question. This is very helpful information, giving us an idea as to what the program is about, the club this is about. So are you proposing that the committee take this to the full board to create a new department? Or was this just kind of like, this is
No.
what we do?
I think I needed you to know what I do, to think about where we can go with this, but I think that would be a discussion with Sue and Sue before it ever went anywhere.
Because
You're only
this-
starting a conversation here.
Right.
aren't you?
Yes, that's all.
Okay. Because
Okay.
this can become a part of the applied pathways,
Uh-huh.
the career pathways for applied arts and we have been developing the courses all along.
Yeah.
We do have some grant funds that we put toward this, but we can, I mean, especially for the wireless mics,
Right.
take a look at that
Yeah.
and talk with Donna very
See
soon
if we can get-
because we
yeah,
gotta get
so we don't
them
wanna get fined.
right away.
Right.
Right, exactly. So.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you for listening. I'm
Yeah,
proud of our kids, and I
thank you.
can share that
Yes,
with you.
please
Send
do.
me up the links to the
That'd be
shows.
great, yeah.
Okay, send it to Susan.
I
Send it to us too.
Yep.
took care of it.
I did, actually, I sent it to Sue earlier, but I didn't have the video. I sent it to her
Yeah.
earlier this week,
That's
so
okay.
she knew.
That'd be great. Thank
Okay,
you,
so
thank you.
money is the big problem and lacking Bialystock and Bloom to help us put the money together. We need to keep us all out of jail
Yeah,
and stop you from having to be the angel for all these.
I have an angel for costuming already that I have that will, our plant cost us $500 to rent the Audrey 2 from the Warner.
Ah.
Yeah. But there's another theater where I've done work where they said they would rent us costumes for the Crucible. They said no charge at all for being a school. So I'm
Great.
looking at doing things cheaper, and the kids have passed around quite a few fundraising ideas, making the cabaret that they do, like we're gonna make the Valentine's Cabaret in February. They have their haunted theater. They're trying to squeeze a murder mystery dinner theater fundraiser, but the schedule's so packed. I don't know how to get it in. I can't do it.
Not in state upgrade.
Yeah.
Great.
I
Do you
could-
think there's any chance we will close with things in Glockamora? Or is that just someone's pipe?
That we
How
will.
are things in Glockamora? I'm Brigadoon. I think
Oh,
they're
yes. Yeah. Well, I really want to, if we can, I thought that was a great
There's
idea.
something very appropriate about that.
I think so. So hopefully, but that would be the spring of 2025. And if we needed to flip shows and do the musical in the fall and do our straight, we would do that to get it in there.
Yep. Yeah, we'll probably be fine, but we'll just check.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll have a better sense once we actually start.
thanks.
Crucible is kind of ambitious.
Yeah.
The high school has done it when
Yes.
our kids were there.
We could
In
do
fact, Arthur Miller was still alive and there was hope that he would.
Oh.
That he would
come
come.
to Roxbury, but he didn't.
But he decided not to.
Yeah, I think
Not with us anymore. but-
I've always put it off because they did, I remember watching it there at the high school. But it's been enough. It's been more than 10 years. I guess it's
been a long
okay.
time.
So
You need the right
excited.
actors, you need the
Yeah.
right kids. We're so dependent on theater, on the right kids.
Now, some people say that and I say just do the show and the kids will come. I know, but I do get that sometimes. We can't do that because we don't have them, but they do show up. Yeah.
Other questions? Okay, so you are a member of this committee, so you will be able to keep us on task with at
Oh.
least paying attention to
Okay.
pathways thing and Torrington's interest in the arts, et cetera, et cetera. I've been going through the ARPA grant applications because I'm on that committee. There's a lot of money going out there to the arts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be great. Yeah, and then let's look at Donna too.
Anyone else?
Okay, good.
Going
Thank
once,
you.
going twice? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Sue wanted a community update item on the agenda. And she's not here, so should we put that on the next? Or do you know what she was? gonna-
No, I know what that was about. The only thing I do want to say in terms of community update is Ed and Amy Samuelson and I are presenting at the Rotary next Tuesday, and you're welcome to attend. Okay, great.
You are gonna be
And
there,
it's
I can
the
tell.
9th, and it's 12 to 1:30, just to give a brief overview of the project, and we'll show the drone footage and yeah, just talk about where we're at and where we hope to be, a little bit about pathways. And we'll go, it's August 9th, Rotary Club.
And yet another middle school teacher has
And-
arranged for all this to happen. That's Teresa
Yes,
Sullivan.
absolutely. Yeah, she's the one who contacted us.
Is this at the Elks?
No, it's at the Greenwoods Country Club.
Because now you have to work with a bunch of overachievers. Just excited to be
Right.
here. Oh my
And
gosh.
then 12:30 to 1,
not doing
12
that.
to 1:30.
John,
But I'll send it
Flip-flop
all the information.
Say
out to you.
what?
we changed.
I just
the
wanted to
agenda.
remind. Okay,
We changed the
So-
agenda.
We missed what we put.
That's right. I was trying to rush to the end here.
I know.
Okay, we have,
We just saying
It goes so quick.
No, right. This is much less exciting than our two presenters, for sure. I am so sorry. But this is from DPH and CSDE and all those wonderful folks who have been working all summer on bringing us, launching into healthy learning. So basically, there's a couple of things. I think that they just wanted to reassure parents and families that kids should come to school. Last year, we were telling them, if you have a sniffle, stay home. If you're not sure, stay home. And now we're doing
The opposite. I
Right,
just read an
exactly.
article about
If you've
that
got
today.
mild symptoms, but you have a fever under 100, come to school, especially, if you've tested negative. If you test positive, it's still the same old, okay? The 5 days in isolation, when you come back to school, you wear your mask, all of that. So the Commissioner Giuthani, who's our public health commissioner, suggested boards don't have to do this test mask go, which is in the morning, right? You would test yourself, or you'd have your parent test you if you're younger. And then if you're negative and you have mild symptoms, you have a fever under 100, or don't have a fever at all, then you go to school with your mask on. Now, she said boards of ed, obviously you can choose to change your policy, adapt your policy, not change your policy. That's perfectly fine. That's up to the board. This is not a mandate. This is a suggestion. I just want to keep things in perspective. All summer long, the Torrington Area Health has been wonderful and giving me daily reports. And truly, it's been minimal when we've had a case. There have been weeks that have gone by where we haven't had any student cases. We have had a few staff cases during the summer, but really Torrington area is not, there's no surge. New Haven County is now kind of a hot zone, and so then they're talking about masking up again. Should that happen, we'll be advised by Torrington Area Health and the state what we should do, but we are nowhere
But
near
then it would go
at
to
this
vote,
time.
right?
Then we would come back
Yeah.
and talk about policy. Then really, you'd probably be in a state of emergency. Usually mayors make that decision about their communities, and then we go from there. But really, we haven't had that in a very, very long time. We're talking months and months. So additionally, vaccination and booster vans will be available for Alliance districts. So if the board would like us to do that during the day, we can do that during the day. I can see if they're available just during the summertime, just to give that one more push. I did contact Torrington Area Health today, and they said they are not doing the vaccines or the boosters because Charlotte Hungerford is so close, and they've been doing it all along. And they've been doing a phenomenal job. So people want to, I'll get that information out in my welcoming letter. Again, here's the sites, here's the contact information. Feel free to make an appointment because now all children, all school age children can participate in both of those. So those are our options. And then the free self-test kits will be available for districts at some point, but that information is forthcoming. So we will get that, and I will let you know when we're picking those up. So they will be available at the schools, so we can give those to families, and then families can also, and I'll give them the link in my letter as well, they can also order their own test kits. Okay. Try to make it short and sweet. But I really don't think at this point, unless there's a burning desire by the board to change any policy or any policy decisions, I just wanted to give you all that information. And then you have all of the documentation that came out. I can send you the link for the press release if you'd like it. It's 37 minutes.
There was a Reader's Digest version.
Yes, I tried to, yes, exactly. And I tried to just give a little bit of all that.
Fiona has some.
A couple of things, because we've been
Sure.
going through this, you and I today, and the state. So.
Yep.
Even though we're an Alliance district with the vans, I have concerns about it just because even though they're gonna have someone doing vaccinations inside the van, it's still gonna require our staff to get the kids from a classroom, bring them outside, wait for them to get the vaccination, wait the 20 minutes. And I also have concerns about our staff being responsible to see if someone's having an allergic reaction 2 hours after. So that's why we were talking about if they wanted to set up a van before school starts, like Vogel's parking lot, that would be fine. But we have concerns about having one throughout the day at the schools because honestly, just something we can take out. And we do have a lot of options for people to be able to get vaccinated. So I think it's just an added burden for our staff that I don't think we can do that. And then the second part is, I think you certainly don't want to encourage people to come to work or school sick. I think we need to go back to the old, if you're sick, stay home. And that should solve a lot of issues. So if you have allergies and you have a sniffy nose, come to school, but if you're
Right.
sick, people should be staying.
Yeah.
So I don't want that message for, staff and parents to think we're sending our kids even when they're sick, or staff thinking they have to come to work. even if they're sick.
Right. Yeah, it goes
So,
back to common sense,
It's
what we
common
did
sense,
before.
Right.
Common sense went out the window.
Yes, reason to riot.
Could we go back to like what they used to do years ago, which is like.
Louder,
simple-
please. Us old people
Okay, so-
can't hear well.
Sorry, no, it says like, can we go back to what we used to do years ago? Which is like send home a sheet that says if your child has, a fever, this, stay home until 24 hours after. If your child has
Right.
this, you may come to school and leave the mask thing out of it. And because that used to be the common sense.
Pre-COVID, that's what we used to send out at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a reminder. Sure.
Other questions, comments?
Yes, it's in there as well. Yep.
Okay. that I am going to exercise the prerogative of the chair, and unless someone has a burning desire to make any of these further presentations, give us any other information, I'm going to jump right to comments for the good of the order, but I'll give you a chance to scream in protest. Nobody's screaming in protest. Comments for the good of the order. I'm going to start, Glenn, let's start with you.
Great presentations. Yes, absolutely. Great presentations.
Brian.
Just want to thank Ronnie and Jeff both for coming and presenting. I think they did a great job.
It excites me to see the enthusiasm and the connections between the pathways. So thank you.
Great presentation. Shelley, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Jeff?
Welcome. Thank you for giving me the time. I cut out my musical number and the tap dance, so it's shorter.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Ronnie. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Shelley, for being here. She just jumped on board. Monday was her first day. So it's, oh, by the way, Wednesday is a meeting. She's like, I want to be there. So here she is.
Yeah, no, great presentations from Ronnie and Jeff, and welcome Shelley. I know it's been a busy couple days for you,
Yeah.
so, but we're so excited to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Oh, great presentations. Ronnie, thank you very much. I'm enlightened by the arts program. Learned a lot. Thank you. And John, as we discussed, if possible, moving uniforms up to the September agenda as opposed to topics for future meetings. So that it comes up sooner than later. And welcome, Shelley. It was very nice meeting you. I got to meet you tonight.
Joanne.
Well, I'm so glad Jeff accepted your challenge. And he did a great job in his presentation.
He
too.
did.
Yeah. And Ronnie, sharing your passion and your talents is just so wonderful. And I think we can't, as a district, underestimate the value and the benefits of both academic field trips and a vital theater department, underlying department. Thanks.
And my turn. Thank you all for coming, especially thank Ronnie, you and Jeff, even though he's not here for the presentations. Very good job. I look forward to seeing the elephants cross the stage when we start doing opera. I would suggest we do Aida first. Off to a good start.
When we did Lion King, we had elephants, and giraffes and zebras. That was exciting.
Lots of people dying on stage. That's what I want
That's-
to see. Either Shakespeare or opera, Verdi will do well. And that's it. I am ready to look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?